All right. So, good morning, everybody out in NVKBA land. We're going to go live for a little bit of time here just to kind of bring you a quick update on what's going on with our tournament right now 22 red, white, and blue. And also, maybe we see if we can get some people online so we can talk about what's going on with their fishing, the progress, how they feel the tournament's doing, and even talk a little bit about what's going on with Mission 22 and the donations that are being made. Just as a reminder, don't forget, tonight we are going to be going live from the Brewer Republic Beer Works in Stonebridge, which is a subdivision within Woodbridge. They are one of our sponsors, and we want to make sure that we want to give love back to them. So join us. I think we're probably going to kick off roughly right around 16:30-ish, right around there. It just depends on what's going on leading up to that event. If we got a lot of people that are ready to go earlier, sooner, if I hear anything, by all means, we'll do so. It's nothing, it's a little bit more impromptu than anything, but to make sure that we keep everyone updated on what's going on. I know that we had one of our members out there, Nathan Cross. This is a special shout out to him to see if he wants to join me, because I'd love to be able to talk to him about what's happening on the water right now. I think he's out at Bull Run. So Nathan, if you can hear me, this is your chance, my friend. In addition, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick invite, which I did send out to everyone out there. 1 second. Everyone out there on Facebook. All right. So invite sent. So quick update. We're going to head over to Fishing Chaos real quick. I'm going to give you guys a rundown with what's going on with 22 red, white, and blue, which ends on the 22nd at noon. So with our leaderboard, we got Joe Costa sitting at the top, 89 3/4 inches, followed up with the number 2 position of Ryan Padaloon with 78 inches, followed with number 3, Gary Duncan, 71 3/4, Kyle Wilson, 67 1/2, and our very own Mike Hogan, the man, the myth, the legend. Mike, God bless you for everything you do when it comes to our first responders. He is a firefighter. I'll tell you, he's a damn good angler as well. He also sits on a couple of the other clubs that we have. It's 64 3/4. I got to say, some of the pressure that's also being pushed out from the top 10, because I just ran down the top 5. You got Chun Ree, 64 1/4. John, excuse me if I mispronounce your names, by the way. John Mios, 33 inches. Paul Ward, 30 inches. Mike Oskey, 16 inches. And, of course, Big Pete Mantos, 13 3/4. But I know Pete's out there in the buck blind today doing his thing. So, Pete, I hope you bag a big one, buddy. So if we're going to go with the big bass, I got to give the number 1 slot to Ryan Padaloon. He's sitting at 20 1/2, which is a pretty good fish. And if we get into the demographics of where we're at in Northern Virginia and the water temperature and everything that's going on right now with the fall, I would best guess say we're in our late fall transition. So, you've got the 3 different times of the year when it comes to fall. Excuse me, the 3 fall times. And we're going to start with early fall, mid fall, and of course, late fall transition. Joining me now, I got Nate Cross. Nate, can you hear me?
I can. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, brother. You look like you're pretty chilly out there.
I'm sitting here in the rain. I really didn't expect rain. I geared up for wind. I knew it was going to get windy later, but
yeah, I saw that.
I'm wetter than I anticipated being. So.
Miserable but favorable weather conditions for the fall transition. Just running down the leaderboard. Did you get a chance to hear what we had?
I did. I heard you. Yeah.
So right now, where are you sitting at? Because I don't think I remember reading your name off.
Oh, I'm actually not in that tournament. I opted out of that tournament.
Okay, so are you fishing any tournaments? Are you fishing the monthly for KBF?
No tournaments at the moment.
So you're out there on your own. Well, you know what? God bless you. Fish conservation number 1, right? Got to stay strong. So as far as Bull Run, I'll tell you, I really haven't had too much luck when it comes to Bull Run. I know Joe goes out there. I know Mike goes out there. Why do I got a green screen for you right now? It's showing you as green. I'm going to remove it and bring it back in and see if that fixes it. 1 second. Hey, Nate, do me a favor. Can you dial back in? Because I got nothing but green and I can't even hear you. So technical difficulties. So as I was saying, we got this transition with the fall transition, the late fall transition. So now, the big bass are chasing the bait fish. That's always going to be key. Number 1. So in early fall transition, when the bait fish are starting to push in, they're doing the same thing. They're going to go in and they're going to try to find their food source. They're also moving away from all the vegetation that's dying off. All right. And as they start to move into those creeks and up into those secondary points, and they're crossing over those shoals, over to the main points right there. So what's happening? There's a big bass. They're starting to follow them. And that's how we're able to track and follow up what's going on. So as the bass are following into the shoals and they're hitting those primary points, that's where you can target them in the early fall transition. As you get into the mid-fall transition, we're talking water temperatures now that are getting down from the high 70s into the low 60s. That mid-range is where you got that feeding frenzy. And that feeding frenzy is going to be absolutely money, kind of like the spawn. And those are my two favorite times of the year. Hopefully I can get Nate back in here. But those are my two favorite times of the year. So if we're talking the fall transition early, you still have good fishing, don't get me wrong. And if you can catch those big ones early in the morning, top water is money at that time, but it doesn't get any hotter until you get into the mid-fall. So when you get into mid-fall, that's when the feeding frenzy starts, and that's really, they start to pocket and school those fish up against the banks, and they start to really stick to the structure as opposed to cover, because all that grass is starting to die off. The exception to the rule is when you start to find structure and cover together. I think we got Nate back. Let's see if we can bring him back in. Nate, no sooner did I click on it, it went green on me. Yep, you're back.
My internet coverage out here at Bull Run is spotty at best.
Yeah, I know how it goes. Brother. I know exactly where you're at, too, because I know that dock right behind you. So it sucks in that area. So tell me about your luck this morning. Any bites? Anything on?
I had a couple of bites on a Texas rig. Neither of them committed, though. So no fish in the boat right now. I'm flying the skunk flag.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man almighty. That's the worst. So do you think at this time of year, I was just talking about the transitions, would you agree with me in saying that we're in the late fall transition, or do you think that we're still in the mid fall based on the air temperature and the water temperature? Of course, the days are getting shorter, much, much shorter.
My understanding is we're probably in the late fall transition, but historically I struggle this time of year, and this year has been no exception.
Yeah, I can understand that because I struggled this year as well. Although I didn't get out as much this year because I had other things. And plus, this month's tournament, putting that together and trying to get that organized and getting the help that I have from the rest of the crew, including Will and Mike Ortega, it has been an obstacle. And I'll tell you, I didn't really know. I didn't give too much credit to it until I had to do it myself. So kudos to the guys who always did this before me. It is a big pain in the butt. It's a lot of coordination, and you got to keep everyone happy. And the most important thing is keeping everyone happy with big payouts and making sure that we have at least something that's really, really noble, especially like 22 red, white, and blue. But back to the fall transition. Do you think this is prime time, or do you think what I call the feeding frenzy, which is mid-fall, is going to be much better for catching those big bass?
I'm hoping the big bass are yet to be caught because I have not found them yet.
So do you think it's better at this time? You said you were on a T-rig, right? And I absolutely agree. Worms are absolutely instrumental when it comes to fall fishing. Taking everything into consideration, water clarity, if you're sitting on primary, secondaries, you're sitting on shoals, shallow water, is finesse fishing, which is one of my strengths. Is finesse fishing for you something that you like to turn to as well? Or do you stick mainly to T-rig and sticking on the bottom?
I have much more luck with finesse fishing. Historically, I don't do very well with any kind of moving bait or power fishing techniques. Like today, the water clarities looks like it's less than a foot. So I'm fishing. I got a black chatterbait on. I've had no bites on that, and a big black and blue jig, and this small little black and blue Texas rig. And the Texas rig is the only thing so far that's gotten any action.
They got a little attention, a little peeing and stuff like that, right? Yeah. So it's funny when I get on the water, especially in early fall, I always start with the crankbait, and that's just my way of reassuring myself they're either going to be hitting action or they're not. That's just the process of elimination for me. If I absolutely get no interest, or if I get short strikes, or if they get off, I know I'm probably going to have to dial in that color just a little bit. So the whites, a little bit of blues, chartreuse especially, because the big bass, what they'll do, they're smart. They're going to do one of two things. So with that early fall transition, as the crawfish in the area being one of the main food sources, is they start to pull back away, and those, especially in reservoirs. Now we're talking about reservoirs. As the water is starting to be dropped in preparation for fall, as we start to drop the water levels, those crawfish, they start to pull back, and then what happens is those big bass, they go in there and they start to slam up on those crawfish. And if they're not, what they're doing is they're waiting for the other bass to go in there and get close, or those bait fish to get in close, and they'll be able to hit them too. Now, as those crawfish are starting to back away, and they know we're starting to lose a lot of the vegetation with the year, the water temperatures are going to start to cool off, go down and drop. It's going to clear out a lot of that vegetation. Those bass are going to have to stick to structure because there's not going to be much cover. Do you see any kind of cover out there? you see
Yeah, I've
any?
been working on brush all morning long. That's typically where I have the most luck around here, is just working the brush piles.
And those brush piles are money, especially if there's, well, not just by themselves, but especially if they're sitting next to rocks or natural foundations like that.
Yeah.
I know Bull Run's got a couple good ones. There's one right on the corner there where it goes from like a foot deep. I think it drops to like 6 or 8 feet, maybe a little bit more. Right there in that little, it's like a little small point right across from the main ramp there. The only time,
I did start off with a crankbait, but as you can see, the water is really choked with a whole bunch of fallen leaves, and the crankbait was grabbing every one of them. So
I know that's the worst, isn't it?
I quickly ditched the
Yeah.
crankbait and went over to the chatterbait.
Yeah, I still see a green screen, and I know it's only because of your reception. But that's all right, though. I'm glad that you're on still.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So if you got less than a foot, I know those bright colors are going to be instrumental, or darker colors, even when you're talking about your black and blues. I was never a big fan when it came to the black color jig. I will do a black worm every time though. So I've always got my setup. Everyone has their setup. That's key for me. I only fish Shimano, with the exception being when I'm doing a T-rig or if I'm jigging. And that's going to be with Daiwa. I have Daiwa with Dobin rods. I've got heavy rods sitting up, and I'll do probably 45 to 30 floral, braided floral, double uni knot. And I use a specific kind of hook. It's those spear point hooks or offset shank. You don't have to tell me what your setup is or anything, but do you mainly stick to those darker colors in the water like this, or is that a year-round thing for you? Everyone has their favorites. Green pumpkin being.
I tend towards green pumpkin more often than not, unless it is super, super dirty, less than a foot visibility. I find the green pumpkin works the best for me, but less than a foot, it's all black and blue.
Just like it is now, yeah. Yeah, I understand
Exactly,
that completely.
It's very dark out here as well. I mean, the water clarity is dingy, and it actually is really dark, overcast. So it seems like black and blue is the thing. But
do you just out of curiosity, do you have a iPhone?
I've got an Android phone.
Yeah, and okay. So on an iPhone, I know if I turn my if you turn like the main cell off, you still keep reception, but sometimes it'll pick up a little bit better. It will clear up the screen. I don't know if Android has it or not, but because I want to see the surroundings, I want to show everyone the surroundings if they can come back and reflect on this video later. But so in the late fall transition, the bass and the bait fish are moving back out, and now they're going to their winter holds. For bull run especially, I haven't really gone much further down than, and I know Joel and Mike have gone down there, but if you were to come off the ramp and go to the right where you're at and just keep on going, where the water kind of slips to the right there, and there's that long channel of just nothing but bank line and rocks, and then you got trees on the left, and then you just kind of fall all the way to the end. Do you ever go all the way down there?
Yeah, I'm down here right at the split right now, right where
it splits off,
where the river comes into the res. Yeah.
Okay. No kidding. Yeah, I need to. Bull run has just never been that fruitful for me. I don't get me wrong. I like it if I want to get away from the rest of the anglers, but maybe it's me. I don't know. It's a tough grind, or it can be a tough grind out there. The times I did have luck or success is when I was doing a worm or I was doing a little swim bait. And the swim baits that I do use out there, it's the Lake Fork Magic Shad. I don't know if you ever use those. They're pretty good. They got that segmented body. So when you're doing your finesse fishing, you can get a little pop and just kind of reel in fast. They have that really good swimming action. As we start to get into the colder months, I'll go ahead and slow down to a pulse tail. Do you have any kind of experience when it comes to swim baits? And if you do, what are your favorite swim baits, if you don't mind sharing? I got a picture.
You got a picture again?
I can see you.
Hey, great.
Whatever you're doing, keep it.
Okay, I'll turn the camera around here so you can see kind of where I'm at.
Oh, yeah.
I do try swim baits occasionally. I don't typically have that much luck with them. I'll throw them for a while, and then after getting no bites, I'm probably too quick to revert back to the good old Texas rig and Cinco.
Your comfort bait, right? Is that your comfort go-to? Yeah. It's funny because I don't know if I'm like other anglers. If I feel like sometimes I'm like, God, if I just stick to it, I've got to hit something, right? I mean, not every bass can turn down my lure. I've got to be able to ping all these main points off my comfort bait. Are you kind of the same way?
I am the same way. I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to. That's one of my resolutions for this coming year is to really put more emphasis on sticking with the swim baits, sticking with the power fishing techniques,
And your power,
not being so quick to bail out and jump back over to the Cinco.
yeah, it seems like patience and consistency are the keys to to getting those bigger bass because once everyone finds that strength and they're able to dial it in, being a good angler in my eyes is not just having that one strength, but being universal across the board. So you can apply any gear you need to. If you need to do a drop shot, do a drop shot. If you need to do a motion bait of some type, do a motion bait of some type. Especially when it comes to darker waters. The colder water temperatures. What's the water temperature right now?
I
Out of Bull
honestly
Run.
don't know. I'm without a fish finder at the moment.
Oh goodness.
Mine is in for repair, and so I'm handicapped in that regard.
So I would
Fishing
take.
blind.
I would say with the air temperature today, what are we down in the low 60s, maybe 62, 63? Water temperatures can be warmer than the air.
Yeah.
Do you think the water temperature is warmer than the air at this point? Pretty cold out where you're at.
I would imagine so. Yeah, probably. I think the temperature is probably in the upper 50s right now, maybe mid 50s, and I bet the water temperature is probably closer to 60. So I bet they're pretty close.
Yeah, I'd say they're 62, 63. So once you get that, once the reservoirs and all the rivers and lakes, they started to do that turn. They started to flip where you see now that column of water starting to it started to match all the way through. And you have the isothermic equilibrium. When we see these things happen, we see the bait fish moving in. Now we know that we have to stick to those points. The two main times that we stick to the points are going to be when the early fall transition happens and the late fall transition. And as you and I talked about, the late fall transition is going to be good for catching those big ones because now the bass are starting to school up. They're schooling up because that's where all the bass are going to. It's not like it's just one bass over here because typically bass are like people. You have introverts and you have extroverts. You have the bass that are those rogue bass that will stick to the bank line that I like to go search for. And almost every other angler, they stick to the bank line. And then you get the bass that go deep, right? Well, now that they're coming back, now that they've already come back in with early fall transition, they've hit their feeding frenzy. They're fattening up. They're moving back out. It's tough to get them to bite. It's like going to a big banquet, getting yourself stuffed up, and then someone trying to give you something to eat after you're completely stuffed and trying to just sit there and relax and let it digest. It's hard. It better be something very, very, very small. Maybe I'm a little because I may be a finicky or picky eater. Maybe the same applies to bass. In my mind, I think this is really how it goes. Do you agree? And if so or not, what would you highlight on some of the different things when it comes to finding these fish on points or secondaries?
For me, it really is about just beating the bank, finding the brush piles, working docks and pontoon boats, that kind of stuff. I really struggle to find them if they pull off the bank and go deeper. I really have a hard time with that. So that's another one of my resolutions for the coming year is to really put more emphasis on that and getting better at that.
And by doing that, are you going to be scoping things out on your way in and out to your locations, or are you actually going to dedicate time, specifically pre-fishing?
I've done a lot of that. I've done a lot of just trolling around, graphing, marking brush and stuff.
Yeah.
But so far, I just don't really have much luck with targeting them when they're offshore like that.
Do you think it's better to stick to a heavier drop, heavier jig now to keep everything on the bottom, keep it close? So, if you're looking on the fish finder, you can see the bass. Yeah, one thing that would tell me if I need to go to a T-rig or a jig is if I see those bass and they're sitting on the bottom, or what I think are bass, because we can't really tell. All right, it could be a carp.
Yeah, heavier is probably better.
Yeah, exactly. Heavier is going to be better because you're sticking to the bottom. Suspended, a lot different, changes the game completely. And that's really unfortunate that you don't have your fish finder now. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you have to have one, And I guess
that's actually one reason I came to Bull Run today, because I fish here so often. I don't really need the fish finder. I know the depths and stuff fairly well, and I know where my favorite spots are. So,
yeah.
Other than water temperature, I don't feel all that handicapped.
No, I get it. You know what? God bless you for that, because I'm going to tell you right now, it can be very difficult, and it can be a big inhibitor when you don't have that fish finder to sit there and watch you. Yeah, let me see your setup here real quick. So you're paddling along, having a good day there, as opposed to the weather conditions, huh?
Paddling along.
How do you find that rig to be helpful when you're trying to stay to spot lock, which I know is not a feature you have on that? I'm talking about like if you had a trolling motor with a spot lock. How is it for paddling as opposed to spot lock?
The pedal drive actually works really well in that regard. Can kind of ease up to a spot and then just kind of very gently feather the pedals to stay in position.
Yeah.
Works great.
You know, so I run a Bonafide, and I run the 127. I know that Bonafide came out with their paddle, the paddle version. I really have seriously considered getting a second kayak, just so that way I can have both, the best of both worlds, test it, because I've never had a paddle kayak.
Yeah.
But I'm also big and lanky, so my long ass legs, it'd be hard for me to find one that really fits. Maybe not. I don't know, because I can.
Yeah. Having been in your presence, I can I can attest to the fact that you're taller than I am. I'm a pretty tall guy, but I think you're taller than I am.
Only on windy days, right? Only on windy days.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
it's not bad. So that's what makes fishing better, because when you are standing up in the kayak and you're a little bit taller, you get a little bit longer arc, a little bit better throw. But the problem again is that you're then top heavy, and I hate the fact that I can't turn on the kayak and try to manipulate myself in a way, or maneuver the kayak in a way to where I can be a little bit more versatile. If we had a swivel chair, you know what, Chad Hoover, this is for you. We need to petition the bass companies so they can make a swivel chair just for Bonafides. I know they make it for the big mountains. I know they make it for the other ones, but a swivel chair, man, that would be nice. I could do that.
Yeah, I struggle with that as well. It's kind of hard to find the right balance between keeping the kayak pointed, parallel to the bank, and turning yourself and casting it just the right angle is kind of a constant challenge.
So let me ask you, with the rain coming down and it's beating you in the face, and God bless you for being out there and enduring the weather, but let me ask you this. What is the time, if you were to catch that big one right now and it was towards the end, would that be the ultimate payoff, or would you rather catch a big one up front or a few ones along the way?
I'm more of a numbers guy. I would rather go out and catch on a day like today when I'm just out for fun. I would much rather have, four smaller fish than one single good fish. But
yeah. What do you think the average is for this time of year for you right now when it comes to the size?
This time of year, I'm so far this fall I've been skunked on several occasions, and then the occasional dink here and there. But it's been brutal.
It is brutal. It's a hard time. It is. It's a very tricky time of year, because you've got to be able to make them want to eat, because they've already fattened up. It's already late fall. You have that transition. Again, depending on how low the temperature is going to get with the water, and once that water column is down there into the high 50s, they're going to really start to back away, and that's when you have to start to change your approach altogether. Those big fast moving baits, all the way down to those trailers, that we're putting on our jigs, they got a lot of motion. We're going to have to slow it down a little bit. Obviously, go down to the finesse jig, go down in the size when it comes to the swim baits. Now, Mike Hogan, as we both know, is a big swim bait guy too. Him and I share a lot of notes, and I'll tell you one thing about Mike is that he definitely has it dialed in for getting the size of swim bait for the right temperature of the water. God bless him for it, because it can be very finicky, it can be very impossible to try to catch bass, especially in the summertime, because they shut down 2 times a year. They shut down in the wintertime and they shut down in the summertime. They get very lethargic, very lazy, as you know. Miserable conditions for anglers who got there too, because you're either sweating like crazy trying to endure the heat, or you're freezing trying to keep your fingers somewhat sensible so you can feel tingling on the line, or that little tap that you're looking for, right?
Yep.
This time of year,
with Mike Hogan. Mike Hogan and I fished together. I think it was Tuesday evening up on a 4 Mile Run.
Oh, off the bridge?
Just in 4 Mile Run itself.
You're talking about? Are we talking about the same location under the bridge there along that walkway?
Yeah, under the bridges.
Yeah. Were you actually on
4
the
Mile
water?
Run goes under Route 1.
Were you actually along there on the sidewalk there fishing over the railing, or were you on the water?
Oh, on the water in our kayaks.
Oh, okay. So you put it up there. So I've never I fished from the side there. I've actually never had the yak in the water up there. How is it?
It's very finicky. It can be extremely good. and it's occasionally very hard. It was very hard that evening.
What's the topography like there? I don't even know.
Well, 4 Mile Run at that point is basically a large drainage ditch for Arlington County.
Yeah, it
and
is.
so it's basically shallow, maybe 4 to 6 feet, with very little in terms.
I lost you for a second. It's okay, Nate. I'll wait for you, buddy. So while we're waiting on Nate to join us again, I know he's got bad reception where he's at. Anyone out there who wants to join us, please go ahead. You can go ahead and comment on the side over here by following the link, or if you click on the link and want to wait in the queue, I'll go ahead and bring you on so we can discuss a little bit more about some of the fishing going on. Don't forget, today at around 16:30, we're going to go live from the Brewer Public Beer Works. That way we can go ahead and promote and help our sponsors, but also promote Mission 22 and 22 Red, White, and Blue, the current tournament. Also going to discuss a little bit about some of the suicide prevention approaches that have been outlined and identified by Mission 22 and also by Tail Valhalla Project's resources that put out there. There's a plethora of resources. We want to make sure that we do raise awareness and bring awareness to prevent veteran suicide. One of the serious topics that we have that's going on right now in this country that is pandemic, or endemic rather, if you're talking about just the country itself, is veteran suicide, leading from PTSD and TBI. So we want to make sure we give awareness to this. Ultimately, the whole point. I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Chad Hoover for helping provide some of the different prizes that we have going on for first, second, and third. I know that we've got over $1,000 in prizes lined up for first and third place, in addition to the prize money that's going on. Also want to make sure that we recognize Chad for his efforts that's going on from Yak Attack, and to our other sponsors out there, specifically Brewer Public Beer Works. And of course, I want to give a special thank you to Sawdust by Design. Bryant, great guy. If you don't know him, part of the mission that we have when it comes to this tournament is to make sure that we have a special thank you and identification for a plaque being made, and it's going to be donated by Bryant at Sawdust by Design. That's his Instagram handle. Please give him a look up, give him a like, and follow him, as well as Tim Agers from the workshop in Fredericksburg. If you like woodworking, you're a carpenter, which I don't claim to be, but I love woodworking. In fact, I'm always doing something. I'm always tearing wood apart so I can put it back together again. Tim, Bryant, and myself are all teaming up to make a plaque. The plaque is going to go to a family. I believe we have a family that has been elected and nominated. They're within Northern Virginia, just a couple, I think they're about 2.5 hours away, just south of here. I want to give a special thank you to Carly from Mission 22, who I've been working with. She's the one who found the family and identified the individual who we are going to honor. That plaque is going to have the individual's name, rank, service dates, and of course, we're going to go ahead and present that to them in person as soon as everything is ready. So that should be within the next 30 days. Remember, this tournament ends on the 22nd at noon. We will, of course, hold our the award ceremony. It's going to be held at the Brewer Public Beer Works that same day. I would venture to say it's probably going to be around 1,600, but we'd love to have everyone there. We get you a beer, get you something in hand, get you some food, and help us celebrate and give back to our sponsor. Remember, the more support we give our sponsor, the more support they can give us in the future, especially when it comes to our payouts and making sure that we have everyone lined up. Puppy is shy. Hey, what's going on, Scylla? Which one? I've got two. Come here. You want to say hello? No, I'm not that. Don't be that loud. No. And then we got Big Boy here. He'll probably be with me tonight. So that way we can make sure we get everyone a little bit of love and make sure that everyone's okay. Make sure that everyone is aware of what this whole mission is, and that is to give back and make sure that we bring awareness to prevent veteran suicide altogether, but veteran suicide, because remember, they served the country. All gave some gave all. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast. Nathan, thank you so much for coming on live with me and sharing your experience when it comes to where you're on the water right now. I know you're enduring the cold, enduring that rain. God bless you. This is why we do what we do. It's not just the love and passion, but it's to get out there and challenge ourselves and make sure that we give back for fishing conservation. If you want to join us, thank you, Stella. Yeah, they are. They're kids. Huh? Real quick before I end up. Come on. You want to say hello? Jump up, baby. Come on. Good girl. You want to say hello? Hey, okay. Enough barking. Enough. Hush. See, I get them riled up. It's okay. Thanks, Stella. I appreciate it. I get them all riled up. Stop. Hush. I got it. It's okay. They think I'm talking to someone, so they're wondering who's around. Yeah, the sun is coming out. So, by the way, if you guys want to join me for another few minutes, you can do so. I was going to wrap it up about 30, but I have no problem staying on so we can talk a little bit more bassin. But I will tell you this. If you want to come out to the Brewer Public Beer Works, or if you want to live stream with me tonight, I would love to have you on with me so we can talk about everything and what's going on with this month's tournament. If you're also doing a monthly, don't forget, we also have other clubs that like to join in. So KFL, specifically having the Norfolk Privateers, they're going to be, I got an individual coming on to join me live stream tonight so we can talk. It's all about parallel planning and making sure that we spread the word, right? So with that being said, going once, going twice. If no one wants to join, we'll see you tonight later on. Like I said, around 16:30 at the Brew Republic Beer Works. Please come on down, help support our sponsor, get some beer, join me. I'll be up in the VIP section. Have you come up. If you want to bring some headphones with you and your phone, we'll live stream you in right there on site. Or if you want to join me from wherever you're at, that'd be great as well. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. God bless you. God bless our soldiers. And of course, remember our fallen. Remember, 22 a day is 22 too many. Y'all take care, and we'll see you guys later on today. Thank you.